everyone. Thanks for joining us for this morning's panel discussion, New World, New Strategies, the opportunity to nail your sustainability objectives. My name's Anna and I'll be moderating this session. By way of a very brief introduction, my work focuses on event standardisation, measurement reporting and target setting. Feel free to connect via Swapcard or LinkedIn if you'd like to find out more. But our panellists for this session are Selina Donald from The Bulb and Raquel Noboa from 50 Shades Greener. We'll go to both for a brief introduction before diving straight into some questions. Raquel.
Hi everyone, my name is Raquel. As Anna said, I'm the founder of 50 Shades Greener. We are a training and consultancy company that we teach hospitality industry managers and employees how to reduce their carbon footprint. We help teams implement environmental management systems within their properties that will help them measure, monitor and reduce their use of energy and water and their production of waste.
Great, thank you. Selina.
Hi everyone, I'm Selina. I founded The Bulb in 2015 after working in events and realising the wasteful approach to producing them. I work now with NGOs, brands and event organisers to produce sustainable events, so to create strategies that work in practice and to transform the way that we produce events into sustainable events.
Thank you, thanks both. I think in which case let's sort of deep dive straight into the questions. So firstly, are there more opportunities inadvertently presented by the current pandemic for addressing sustainability of event projects? And if so, what are they? And if we go to Selina first.
Yeah, I think we're in a really, weird place at the moment where we've got so many on a global scale people shouting for a green recovery. So we've seen businesses, NGOs, local governments coming together saying building out of COVID-19 we need a green recovery, and I think that has to extend to the event industry as one of the biggest polluters on the planet. So I think, to use an analogy, our houses have fallen down, we're on really shaky ground. And it's our opportunity now in this moment of pause to build it back better. So to be looking at our sustainability strategies, looking at how we can do things more efficiently. And I know that bottom line is like a big deal at the moment. But for me, sustainability is all about the bottom line. It's about being more efficient and profitable and doing more with less. So yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for people to look at the way they work and then start to implement bigger strategies.
Raquel, what's your take on that?
Yeah, pretty similar than Selina's. For me, it's all about environmental sustainability, and we need to start thinking, how does our event or business affect the environment? And again, I bring it all back to three pillars of sustainability, which is water, energy, and waste. And what many people don't understand is that sustainability is not just about the planet, it is also about being efficient and generating cost savings from reducing your utilities. It's probably one of the key goals that a lot of business owners and event organizers will want to achieve this year post-pandemic. I mean, it's no secret to say the industry is right now going through a huge economic recession. So to be smart and to reduce your running costs of your business or your event, it's really an important part of this year and next year's agenda. So very similar, just be more efficient, reduce your utilities, reduce your running costs, which reduces your impact to the environment as well.
Yeah, thank you. And so when we kind of talk about those sustainability objectives and talk about those opportunities, what sorts of objectives specifically should we be thinking about as event organisers? I know, Raquel, you've sort of mentioned utilities and efficiency, but are there sort of a number of objectives that we should be setting? Is there something specific that we should be working towards?
Well, for me, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to run zero carbon footprint events. That's obviously a very overall goal that requires a very detailed plan and time. Carbon neutrality can't be achieved overnight. I'm currently running a training program here in Ireland with 10 festival organisers, and we are striving to run carbon neutral festivals by 2021. We have been working on this project for 3 years, but when you have an overall big goal like that, I always say break it down into very small doable actions that you can implement over a period of time. So our first objective, for example, was to calculate and measure what our current carbon footprint was, and then start reducing that carbon footprint by engaging with green energy suppliers, swapping, I guess, or single-use items by reusable items was one of our biggest challenges. Working with local suppliers, spreading the green message to our festival goers as well to reduce their own carbon footprint. And then finally, once you've reduced your event's carbon footprint as much as you can, then you can offset what's left over of that carbon footprint and achieve carbon neutrality. So I'm fully aware that it's a difficult goal to achieve, but if you break it down into smaller steps, every single step you take helps you build a more sustainable event before you even get to your overall goal.
Yeah. Selina, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a great answer. I think just to add to that, what I do with clients is to also break down what are their clients doing, what are their main clients and brands that they're working with doing, and how can you align your strategy to suit theirs. So thinking about their goals and objectives, and think about how you can be smart to provide a service that helps them meet them as well. So with the bulb, we also looked at transport, energy, food, and the social impacts, but we also looked at materials and production, which I think is the biggest wasteful area in events as well. And just looking at how we can be creative. Sustainable events do not mean not creative, beautiful events. And I found at the beginning of the bulb, that was the hardest thing to get across to people. Things don't have to look like, I don't like sort of not slick, not professional. There are some amazing people out there doing brilliant things like Eco Booth, Smart Plastics, who are taking plastic pollution and creating beautiful stands and making things look as professional as before. So I think it's about looking at your supply chain, looking at your key objectives, looking at the areas that you waste the most, and then working back, as Raquel says, tracking your progress and setting measurable objectives.
Yeah, I think that leads quite nicely into sort of the next question. I mean, you've sort of talked about client objectives and how to kind of align yourself with client objectives and sort of get that buy-in. So is there any sort of specific advice that you can offer to organisers who are struggling to highlight the importance of that internally, around how you might be able to align, or how you can look at the objectives that a client has with regards to sustainability? Are there any sort of suggestions or tips or techniques that either of you can offer for how to get that internal buy-in?
Shall I jump in first, Raquel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something that we've all come across in this industry, in the sustainability industry, a lot, about how to get buy-in. And I think ultimately, as an overall approach, if you can't get buy-in, what is the alternative? I don't think businesses in any industry can afford not to approach sustainability anymore. It's no longer a nice to have or separate from the real business. It needs to be embedded in decision-making process from the ground up. And decision-making is a key word for me here. I think sustainability and embedding it into strategies is just about making better decisions. It's about making decisions on who your suppliers are, on how you're going to work, and just embedding that from the ground up, as we say. So I think sustainability is more about efficient use of materials and resources and smart, intelligent behaviour. And, it says a lot about a company, generates a good brand reputation. So all of that together is, it's a bit of a why not? Why wouldn't you go down that route? Especially at this stage where the magnifying glass really is on sustainability and climate change. And I think as a company, you need to be showing that you're coming along on that journey with everyone else.
Yeah, I very little to add. It's a great answer. To me, it's the only way to go. And I mean, I feel it is quite sad personally that we still have to convince the stakeholders that this is the way to go with everything that we know right now. I guess when I'm confronted still with maybe non-believers, or people that still think economical growth is more important than sustainable growth, I approach it in two ways. And one is the undeniable cost savings of running more sustainable events. And I mean, any business owner that wants to make more money, it should be having an environmental management system. And the second thing is that the green traveler market and the whole green wave movement, I guess, it's on the rise, and it continues to grow, especially around millennials, the millennial generation, which are our real customers of tomorrow. So I feel that if our industries, all industries, don't align themselves to their customer values, they may not have that many customers in the future. So, you know, I don't think we have a choice anymore. I think it's something that society is asking for more and more, and we just need to align to what our customers want, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think that some of the challenges around kind of getting that stakeholder buy-in relate to the fact, and I think it's some of the challenges that you talked about, Raquel, in terms of kind of getting that measurement so you can look at what you're doing and therefore make, you know, cost savings, but also energy savings and so on. Do you think that there are challenges around the fact that there's sort of a lack of industry transparency? There's nothing that kind of enables us to understand the wider picture of the event industry in terms of reporting or so on. Do you think if we had some method of standardization or kind of industry representation regarding kind of the environmental journey and where we should really be getting to as an industry, that would help support kind of stakeholder buy-in and so on? Do you think that's kind of an important sort of next step towards being able to address some of these challenges?
Yeah, this is something that I speak about quite often, is that I sometimes think we, you know, sustainability is such a big word that means so many different things to so many different people, that we failed to nearly make it easy for people to buy into this, you know, and nobody likes something complicated. Nobody likes this, you know, having this massive goal that it's in a 5-year plan and you may never get there, like we do with many of our government policies, you know. So it's, I think, you know, as industry or sustainable experts, we need to make sustainability easy, and it needs to make sense to a business owner, to an event organizer. There's no point on saying, you know, we need to lower the planet temperature in the next 20 years to somebody that is just wanting to run an event and they can't do anything specifically about that. So we need to concentrate on the things that they can do right here, right now, to make more sustainable events and industries.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is something that I feel like I've been banging on about for ages. But it's, you know, if we look at a macro level, we had 400 businesses, governments, local authorities coming together for the Paris Agreement, which was an agreement that people were working to, and it set a standard and it set goals and targets and objectives and a benchmark. We need something like that for the event industry. You know, we need a vision of a low carbon event industry, and we need transparency. Like the biggest thing, you know, we have a competitive industry, but I think on this, we need to work collaboratively. We need to be able to be transparent about our failings, because you don't learn from the successes, you learn from the failings. You know, my biggest learnings are the huge mistakes I've made along the way. And, you know, thankfully don't repeat sometimes. Like, you know, it's just, it like collaboration and working together and being transparent in how we're going to do it is just key. And I totally agree with you, Anna. We need one vision of how we're going to do it, and not one industry standard and benchmark, so we can show progress and we can show accurate statistics and actually how we're doing. Because at the moment we sort of rely on these statistics that I don't even know where they've come from. You know, events are the 5th biggest polluter in the world, but how did we you know, come to that statistic? And so to have something where we can make accurate benchmarks and progress would just help everyone in order to move forward.
Yeah, thank you. I think that kind of moves on quite nicely to, in some ways, which external stakeholders should we be communicating our objectives with? So I think it's kind of like that idea of having that one vision, but in terms of the client objectives, brand buy-in, you know, organizer objectives. Is it venues? Is it suppliers? Is it partners? How do we communicate that out to our external stakeholders?
Will I jump in, Selina?
Yeah, you go ahead first.
So I think it's all of them as stakeholders. It's our venues, it's our suppliers, it's our partners. When it comes to having a sustainable event, it has to be an ethos across all stakeholders. So for example, when you're an event organizer, if it's time for you to choose the venue of your event, try and choose venues that have green credentials over those that don't. Find out what their sustainability policy is. What is their policy on food waste? Do they supply single-use items, for example, at their conference facilities that you're going to use? I actually recently saw there was a European conference coming to Ireland, and they did a site inspection prior to deciding where they were going to go. I think they were looking at 2 different countries. It was 2,000 people coming from all over Europe, and when they saw the venues that were chosen for the possible conference, they had no green credentials, there was single-use plastics everywhere, and they pulled the whole conference from Ireland, which was a big loss to our economy. So it's very important that as an event organizer, you're very careful when you're choosing your venue. And the same with suppliers, where is the products coming from? How many air miles are on them? Are you using as many local suppliers as possible to boost your local economy with your event? And finally, with partners or even sponsors, they also need to be aligned to a sustainable ethos. So, you can decide to run a sustainable event and market yourself as such. But then if your main sponsor is Shell Oil, you're sending a really, really mixed message to your audiences. So sustainability needs to be an ethos that is embedded across, I think, all the stakeholders. You can stand over then the decisions that are made along the way.
Yeah, I agree. It does have to be everyone. Every event you're only as good as your suppliers, and you need to start looking at your supplier database. But I do think, going back to what I said earlier about, building your house back better, you need to get your house in order before you do anything. So getting your own internal strategy done, and getting sending out a strong signal to your staff, your stakeholders, your clients about your commitment to sustainability, and thinking about the way you communicate that out is key. I think then going out to your wider circle, your suppliers, your venues, and just thinking about who you're working with and if they align with your values as well.
Thank you. I mean, we've had quite an interesting question from Faresh, and I think we may well have sort of covered it in that response. But the question is, shouldn't the onus be put onto clients in terms of a government levy for non-sustainable events to help force the issue? Selina, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think we are seeing, a lot of movement in massive brands on their sustainability strategies. Coke have just announced that rather than trying to aim to be net zero, they want to be net benefits. So they're looking at how they can give more back to the planet than they take, not just remaining neutral. And I think we're going to see a lot more of the brands moving that way as well. So it's really important, if we're doing experiences and consumer facing activities with our brands, that we're also doing that as well. It's time to almost show, and events are an opportunity for brands to show their strategies in practice. So if a Coca-Cola is talking, and I know we could really go on about Coca-Cola and the sort of other side of them as well, but if we look at the things they are doing, they want to be net zero, and their event is completely carbon heavy, that doesn't represent what they're trying to put forward to their consumers. So I think it's our responsibility as well to represent their events and to produce their events in a way that aligns with their values.
It's that collaborative idea, I think you're saying, that yes, whilst the onus is on the client to take the lead on it, we must collaborate to all deliver against the same sort of aims.
Yeah, absolutely. Not one person can do this in a silo, not one area. If we're doing it, our clients have got to do it. And if our clients are doing it, we have to do it. So it has to be collaborative.
I think when we talk about putting the onus on a client, it's like the onus of sustainability. It's really in all of us. It's everybody has a part to play, and we all produce carbon footprint, and we all individually and collectively need to look at sustainability with different eyes. It's not about saying, well, they should do it or they should do it. I think those years are gone where we can actually pass the can down to either the client or the audience that is coming to the event. I think it should be something that the onus should be in all of us, in the client, in the organizers, on the venues, on everybody.
Thank you. We are shortly going to be sort of closing off the session. Are there any sort of last comments that you have, either of you, regarding the subjects that we've talked about, or any kind of lasting takeaways that you'd like to offer the viewers? Raquel?
I guess, just what I've said before, environmental sustainability to me is the only way forward. for every single person, for every business, for every event. And it's just a matter of everybody really understanding that it is possible, that it is about small actions that are doable and that we can all undertake right now to make everything we do more sustainable.
Thank you. Selina?
Yeah, I think just to echo Raquel, I know from my own personal, experience moving into sustainability, how overwhelming it can be in the beginning. But just to break it down and approach it, as you would a project, just looking at, the different areas that you work in, how you can make a change, and reaching out to people. My biggest learnings have come from just conversations with different people in the industry. So I'm sure Raquel's the same, and you, Anna, that we're really open to speak to people and be able to share what we're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Selina and Raquel, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, everybody. That was a really interesting session. I hope it was useful for everybody else that joined us.